advise folks on is if you can figure out which schools you are in the top 20 to 30% of the incoming class based on last year's cohort or an average of the last few years' cohorts, you are going to stand a much better chance of both getting accepted but also getting merit aid.
So is that information available? Is that part of what's information in your database to say if you have a GPA of 4.0 and an SAT of 1,800 that you're going to be likely to know? Can you actually use the information in your database and say, yes, at Loyola Marymount College, you're likely to be in the top 20%? Is that really how the information's disseminated?
Yes, we can't be certain on how things will look this year.
Sure.
And the information is directional, of course. But, yes, we can tell you based on who was admitted last year and how much aid was given out and to what percentage of the population received it, what you would look like if you had applied in that same cohort. So essentially, if most things stay the same, then, yes, it's a very good indicator of where you'll fall this year.
That's really powerful.
Yeah, it is. And, this information is out there. I don't by any means want to say that we're the only people who have this information. Our tool makes it much simpler to cut through and personalize. But this information has been in databases and in books forever. So it certainly is publicly available.
Absolutely.
We encourage people to go search it out because it's so important.
Yeah, and I think more and more colleges are going to have their own net calculators on the site, but it can be overwhelming with a family, even if they've got their list down at 20 colleges, to be going to every site and doing all the research. So it's nice to have an idea of some sites that you can take a look at and do the research all together in one place.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah. So can you give us some examples of kind of what merit aid might be available at some of the colleges, or kind of what types of merit aid scholarships would be available?
Yeah, sure. I think, you did a nice job of framing the way schools look at this. And again, an admissions officer's job is to make sure that they are assembling the most talented and smartest and interesting group of incoming freshmen to replace the outgoing seniors. So the hard part for those in the search process is you're never going to be able to figure out what the matrix is for the college every year unless you're actually picking up the phone and talking to the admissions officer about who's leaving what seat in the senior year.
And will they share that information even if you do call them?
It depends. If in very specific circumstances, certainly if they're losing their tuba player, they're going to share that with you.
Sure.
Sports, music, extracurricular activities that they need to fill, absolutely. It's less important to call when it is around academics, though it's not the admissions officer, of course, that you call in that regard. If you're very interested in, a Chinese language program, then call that department and you can get all the information you need to know about the relative size and where it's headed, and use that in your application, of course.
And have you seen in your experience that pretty much any of the scholarships that even are offered for multiple years are only offered for 4 years? Are any of these scholarships available if a student does come back for their 5th or 6th year?
I think no, I have not seen.
No, I would agree. Yeah, I just wanted to get a feeling of whether I have that information. So once again, it's a good reason to make a good plan to graduate in 4 years, so you don't need a 6-year budget.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. And one thing, Beatrice, that I just wanted to make sure I mentioned about merit aid, and another factor that I think is important and overlooked all the time, is geographic diversity. And I know you mentioned it, but I really want to hammer this home, particularly because I know you have a big California listenership. With the students that work with us in California and New Jersey in particular, we really encourage them to look farther afield than they're used to, because as you get to be unique as a Californian in upstate New York, for example, or in Iowa, you start to become much more interesting to that admissions officer, because one of their criteria that they need to fill, or boxes they need to check, are making sure that the states are represented so they look like they are broadly distributed and diverse. So thinking about the neighboring states is you might want to throw 1 or 2 schools that are farther afield, and you may look very interesting to them and get more money because of that geographic diversity.
I think that's a really great point, and it's a great point all about California kids that often are thinking, or their parents think, why not stay in California? The colleges are good here, and we're going to save more money. But when you heard me quote the number, that the amount it costs to go to a UC or University of California college at $35,000, there's a lot of great private schools and public schools, even without a school tuition, that Californians can pay less than $35,000 to go to. So there are a lot of choices, even without even considering what merit aid or need aid is available.
Yeah, that's right. And, we've sat down with numbers of families to put a spreadsheet together to say, because, travel costs come up in the conversation, et cetera. And, for students who are on the kind of 3.0 spectrum and higher, generally speaking, all that is eclipsed by the amount of merit aid they can get at schools that really fit them, that match them well.
So how would a family work with you or figure out, how do you engage, how does a student kind of use PossibilityU to help them through their process?
We are basically a piece of educational technology. We are an online program, and our price point is $250 per family for the entire time they use it. So it could start as early as freshman year and take them all the way through the application. So one-time cost. And it gives access to a 10-hour curriculum of everything from how to select schools through how to work the financial aid process and how to select schools with, again, academic, social, and financial criteria in mind, and then how to prove that you are the right match with the right set of schools. So it comes with a video curriculum of 10 hours plus the tools we talked about, which really help personalize the search for the student based on grades and test scores and class rank at this point. Also preferences in terms of geographic, location, etc.
And you can save those preferences so you can go back and look and start it as a freshman, perhaps with a list of 50 colleges, and slowly bring it down to the 8 you might apply to as a senior?
That's exactly right. And so it comes with a login for the parent and the student. The student can also invite their guidance counselor if they like, or any kind of mentor that they have. And everybody can log in to see the same information and have a conversation around where they are in that process of selecting and then applying, because there's one last piece that we have is kind of a project management light feature whereby once you've decided which schools you're going to apply to, then we pull in all of the due dates and essentially the deliverables, or all the components of the application, and make that visible to everyone. And then we'll email and or text students and parents any number of days before those deadlines set by their own preferences. So it kind of takes the nag factor out of the parents, and it also helps students stay on top of what's coming up, which, for something that is essentially an extracurricular process for them in their busy senior year.
Yeah, as crazy as it is, extracurricular, but it takes up so much of their time, and deadlines are so important. Betsy, thanks so much for sharing your knowledge and experience and joining us on College Smart Radio today.
Thank you, Beatrice. It's been great. I appreciate it.
Remember to include researching available merit aid early in your college selection process. A link to Betsy's website, PossibilityU, is available on our website, www.collegesmartradio.com. That wraps up another weekly show of College Smart Radio. We hope you picked up some new information today that helps you figure out ways to manage the runaway costs of college. You can hear us each week here on KDOW 1220 AM, Saturdays at 3 p.m. We promise to bring you up-to-date information from the front lines of helping parents deal with the most expensive years of their lives. For a link to a podcast of this show or our prior weekly shows, go to our website, www.collegesmartradio.com. In addition to the podcasts, you'll also find a schedule of our upcoming shows. Make sure you print out or bring up on your tablet our glossary of college planning terms for reference during our future shows. It's a complicated topic to navigate, and without knowing the terms, it's easy to get lost. Also, plan to join us at one of our upcoming Westface College Planning workshops. My next 2 public workshops will be on Tuesday evening, October 16th, and Saturday morning, November 3rd. With over 100,000 Bay Area students applying for college each year, our workshops are popular and we do run out of seats, so you do need to reserve your seat at the workshop. You can do so from the show's website, www.collegesmartradio.com. This is Beatrice Schultz. Thanks for tuning in to College Smart Radio. We look forward to sharing more helpful information next week.
You've been listening to College Smart Radio with certified financial planner Beatrice Schultz. If you have a question on today's topic, log on to collegesmartradio.com or call area code 650-587-1517. That's 650-587-1517. Join us next week at this time for another edition of College Smart Radio on AM 1220 KDOW.